Do you think it's a bit overinflated?
Yes, absolutely.
In what capacity, though?
Every capacity.
What, the industry, food, restaurants,
just food.
Michelin,
Just
the whole lot?
Just food. And that is the only time that I'd ever been pushed to the limit. And that is not what you want. Just try, because if you try and you look after them, they will do anything for you. I remember there was one time in a previous job, I forgot to put the chocolate truffles out. The guy strangled me in the fridge. There are so many good chefs out there, but they just do not know how to manage people.
You said once, staying in your lane and being nice to people is one of the most successful parts of running any restaurant.
Yeah.
Did you learn that at Scott's?
No. Good produce and don't fuck it up. That's his motto.
Really?
Simple.
Elliot, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you? Thanks for having me today.
Mate, absolute pleasure. How's life?
Yeah, no, it's very good. Christmassy. Getting there. Had a little Christmas hat on this morning while prepping the beef. Good.
Lovely. Prepping the beef on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
You're right. Fair enough. Well, look, there's lots to talk about. There's a whole career of spanning many, many years that I want to get into. But before we do, take you back home to Cornwall.
Yeah.
What was life as a kid like?
Oh, it was lovely. Mum and dad, my little brother, Jake. I was there from, since I was born until I left when I was like 15 and almost 16.
Right. So you were the whole time?
Yeah.
And the cooking influences. I've heard you say in an interview that your mum wasn't the best of cooks.
No.
So where did the cooking influences come from?
Do you know what? To be honest with you, I used to just sit down. I used to obviously watch the Gary Rhodes. He used to do like a children's series.
Yeah.
Then Rick Stein, obviously.
Yeah.
Padstow. We used to go there as kids, have the fish and chips. They call it Pad Stein in Cornwall.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn, that's
and it was always like an idol for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's always like a lot of seafood and a lot of those influences around. So yeah.
But was there someone at home that cooking was like a big part of their life? Or was it literally just your own influences?
My Uncle Graham was a good cook.
Right.
And he always used to reference Brian Turner and his blue cheese sauce and his Stilton soup. And that was probably a little influence.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, it was more the ingredients around me and all the fresh seafood. In the family, it was probably my Uncle Graham, but there was no one particularly great. My mum and dad certainly weren't the best cooks. Forgive me.
But for you, like being in Cornwall, obviously you came to London as well and followed the kind of more traditional path of get into the big city and kind of try and make a name for yourself. But was there ever a plan to stay down there, stay in the fresh air and stay by the ingredients?
Do you know what? There was something that was just dragging me to London and I don't know what it was and why it was. It's a bit of a mystery. I mean, when I was watching a TV program and the next minute I found myself applying for the Ivy on West Street.
Yeah.
And then they contacted me and it all just went from there.
And that was it.
And I mean, within 2 months of that, I was in Covent Garden. And I mean, we didn't really come from any money, my family, but I think it was like £800 a month. But because I was under the age of 18, it was like carer sort of thing.
Right.
And I remember this woman, I used to do like I used to walk because I was too afraid to get on the tube. So my parents took me up when I was 15. My 16th birthday was in the kitchen of Le Caprice. And I used to be so scared to get on the tube. I used to walk from Le Caprice down Jermyn Street all the way to Endell Street in Covent Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And on my days off, after working a 16-hour day, the lady, can't remember her name, she used to kick me out during the day. She said, "You're not allowed to be in the house during the day." So
where you lived?
Where I lived. It was like she expected me to be out at the house during the day and then just be in by sort of 7 p.m. and then I'd just sleep. So it was it was wild times in Covent Garden.
Applying for that job, so you applied to the group, didn't you, to then figure out what there was? But was that one of the first applications you sent?
It was pretty much the only application I'd sent, and Mark Hicks was the chef director at the time, and a gentleman called Kevin Grattan, who was he was like the chef director with Tim Hughes. He'd actually reached out to me, and my mum was helping me with the application, and we basically said, "Look, I can't afford to pay the rent on the commis chef wage." I think it was like 16 grand a year or something.
Right.
I was actually looking at my emails today. It's from 2000, like early 2000s.
Yeah.
And he was messaging back and he was saying, "Look, we'll try and get you on a higher salary for that role."
Yeah.
Just so I could moved to London. So thanks, Kevin.
That's mad.
Yeah.
So you moved because you were 15 turning 16.
Just turning 16. Yeah, it was like a few weeks in it.
For a kid from Cornwall,
yeah.
Was it a pretty daunting experience getting to London?
I mean, it was crazy. I remember I used to walk past like the Hugo Boss, the Ralph Lauren shops, and I thought, oh, one day I'll have a T-shirt from there, or Ray-Ban as well. I was like, one day I'll have a pair of sunglasses. And that was always like a big driver for me. It was, I wanted all these nice things, but I had to work so hard to get them.
Yeah.
And my God, I worked hard for sure.
Was the goals in mind? Were you, obviously you've entered the industry.
Yeah.
Like getting a job in London, I imagine, is a pretty big achievement.
It was a huge thing.
Like, at the time. So for you, was there a goal layout? Were you just like, I just want to be able to stay in the industry in some capacity?
That is a really good question. For me, when I look back, I just absolutely loved it. And the chefs that were in Le Caprice at the time, they looked after me. I mean, they used to take me out for the fireworks night. I wasn't allowed to drink at the time. They used to get me a shandy.
No.
They really, really looked after me. And I mean, I'd met every celebrity you could imagine in the kitchens of Le Caprice, or Kate Moss smoking a cigarette, you name it. Like, I've seen everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Le Caprice isn't there anymore. It's in a different format. But I remember, because one of the first restaurants I went to as a kid is like a special place to go to. So it's very fond in my heart in many ways. But just to describe the atmosphere of Le Caprice, when you first entered, what was it like? What was the feel of the restaurant?
For me, it was the place to be. I mean, it was where everyone wanted to go for a table. I mean, the Sunday brunch, the eggs Benedict, the handmade hash browns, no one does it like Le Caprice. You can try and recreate it.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Simple. The crispy duck salad, it come from the original Ivy. They did it at Le Caprice as well. Obviously, the Ivy Market Grills, which we know and love, they do it, but they just cannot get it right. You have to have worked in the original and worked with the original chefs to understand the quality of the ingredients, how crispy the duck's got to be, the sauce, the dressing for the salad, the mouli, how it needs to be chopped, the bean sprout. Every little detail just makes this unbelievable salad, but no one knows how to do it anymore.
It's not the same.
No.
What was the team like when you first walked in, and what was your first day like walking as a 15-year-old kid to the? How many chefs were in that kitchen?
I think it must have been around 25 chefs at the time.
Oh, really? Wow, that's quite surprising. I feel like that's quite a lot for the size of the restaurant.
I think it was around 25. Yeah, probably with KPs as well.
Yeah,
it was a fair few. And I remember I got shown how to prep an artichoke on my first day.
Wow.
And I just messed the whole thing up, like the whole box of them.
Because you hadn't been in a professional kitchen up until this point, right?
I was working in a little manor house in Cornwall,
right?
But like washing pots and just like making desserts. So not really, but I sort of understood the dynamics of it. But I just really got stuck in.
Yeah.
But my actual trial was in Scots Mayfair, where I ended up after Caprice. And I do remember that being a goal. I wanted to work there eventually.
Right.
But the chef, Dave McCarthy, who's still the head chef there now, love him to bits.
Wow.
He said, it's too busy for you here. And they put me into Le Caprice because it was a lot less volume.
Oh, right. Would you have just been too much at the time?
I think it would have been too much,
yeah. So your first day in a couple of weeks, super welcoming, terrifying. What was the experience?
I loved it. I just enjoyed it. I was never scared. I'm not really scared of anything like that. I mean, it probably is a scary environment.
Yeah.
When my dad took me for the trial at Scott's, he said all he wanted to do was pull me out of there, like straight away. He said, this is just awful. And then apparently he said to me when I'd come out of the trial at 4 p.m, I was glowing. And he said, right, that's it. And that was sort of the start of the journey.
Yeah. So when you're in the kitchen in Le Caprice, because you said in an interview that it was the best 2 years of your life there.
Yeah.
Why was it the best 2 years of your life there?
I think it's where I fell in love with food properly, and I saw what it can give you. I mean, Lee Ball, who was one of the head chefs there. I had two head chefs. Lee Ball, who's a chef director now, Sushi Samba. He had the nice watch, the nice clothes, the nice trainers. And he said to me, you can have all of this, if you just work really hard. And his knowledge of food, the produce, Mark Hicks as well. Like, he taught me British produce at its absolute best.
Yeah.
All the special, Goals eggs, Elvers, all those special ingredients, which are rare now.
Yeah.
I mean, just a lot of passion. And
were there any moments in those 2 years that were challenging? Because it's your first 2 years in the industry, right? And anyone's first 2 years of any career is pretty difficult. But were there moments where it wasn't working out at all?
Yeah, I mean, Lee Ball was quite awful at the time. He's one of my best mates now. He was horrendous.
Really?
He used to push me to the limit. I remember I would be on the veg and Steve Wilson would be on the sauce. And when things weren't going quite well and the checks were building up, we used to sort of reply, "Yes, chef," as if we're sort of smashing it and getting this. He goes, "Don't act like you're smashing it, you're fucking shit." Like trying to push us to the next level, you know?
Yeah.
But without him, I would not be where I am now for sure.
Do you think that was needed? Is that what you're saying?
You need some kind of guidance and push, but there is a level. And for me, every single person needs to be managed differently. And I think that's where a lot of management struggle because I needed to be shouted at and pushed in one direction, whereas Steve next door to me didn't need that. Does that make sense?
And it's hard to balance that, I guess.
I think.
Can you get that right though?
You can get it right, but that's man management, and that takes a lot of skill.
Yeah. Did some people that you were working with at the time not survive working in a restaurant? In terms of, I'm sure people would have left at the time, but was it for everyone that was kind of in their career?
I mean, a lot of people had left, and it wasn't for them, and a lot of people have been very successful.
Is it balance?
Yeah, there's a balance. Yeah.
So you said obviously after that you left. Why did you want to leave if it was so great?
Because there's only, every place you work, you can stay in one place. And I mean, if I'd have stayed in some jobs, I'd be in the same position I am now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've learned, I think you could work in Michelin star kitchens, you can work in brasseries, whatever may take your fancy. But if you work in the same, I was at Scott's, for example, I think 8 or 9 years. And for me, there was no place to go. People weren't leaving and I wasn't going to progress. So I decided to take a step left and then I progressed further that way.
Yeah.
You can't always stay in the same place.
Yeah, sure. So you were left to join Mark Hicks at Hicks.
Yeah.
Is that right?
In Soho.
Yeah. And that was only for a very short period.
It was around a year and a half, I think it was.
And so were you taking a step up to move there?
I was sous chef to sous chef.
Right.
Which was...
But different dynamics,
different dynamics, all about produce.
Right.
You put Israeli samphar on the menu, you get a disciplinary. It had to be British. Mark would come in and he'd read the invoices, check that everything was... Not because he didn't trust you, but he just wanted to make sure the smoked salmon needed to be... Everything had to be on point. Nothing could be from overseas. It had to be from the UK.
Wow.
The mayonnaise was made with English rapeseed oil. Everything. Absolutely everything.
Wow. And so... How long, when you were there for a year and a bit, but you stayed in the same role while you were there?
I got to head chef of Hicks Soho by the time I'd left.
In only a year and a bit?
Year and a bit. But I'd obviously known Mark from before.
Yeah.
And I actually did the opening, this is in and between. I did this. So Kevin Grattan, who got me the job in London, he opened Hicks Selfridges and I'd gone there briefly with him.
Sure.
So I did 2 years at the Caprice.
Yeah.
Left, went and did the opening of Selfridges. With Mark, that's where I got to know him properly.
Nice.
Then I went to Scott's for a long period of time.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then moved it around. What was different? Your experience of going to a new kitchen for the first time, so leaving Caprice, going to Hicks, in whatever form that was. Was it a massive contrast? Were they different, or the similar principles that kind of line up?
It's a really, really good question because obviously I travel a bit now, and for me, most people find it difficult to change kitchens,
right?
But you could put me in any country in the world, foreign language, I can find my way around the kitchen. And it's because we've also, we've got an understanding. You don't necessarily need to know the language or culture. A kitchen is just a kitchen.
Yeah.
If you know the sort of the dynamics of a kitchen, you can. That's what I love about the kitchen.
Is that the same with the restaurant as well? If you kind of extend that out,
through
absolutely, always the same kind of. People that want to make great food are always aligned, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely. Is that what you think?
Exactly. That's what I believe, yeah.
And after that, you then go to Scott's, which is a kind of big portion of your career.
Yeah.
Wow. And that was an opportunity, right, for you that kind of presented itself.
There was such an opportunity because there was so much you could learn.
Right.
You had the crustacea bar at Scott's,
uh-huh.
the sauce section, which was like the golden nugget. That's where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Then you had the middle, which you basically orchestrate the whole hot kitchen, which was that was more difficult than the pass. Because the person on the pass was just putting numbers on a tray, keeping the communication going. But the person in the middle would be bringing all the food together, making sure it was plated beautifully, all that kind of thing.
Wow.
And then you had the private dining room, which was all the A-list celebrities would go there.
Yeah.
And you'd do 60 covers on your own. It was unbelievable.
Is that what drew you to go to Scots? Like, how did you see that opportunity? And how did it present itself?
For me, I trusted in Tim Hughes and the chefs there, and they literally guided me the way and where I should go. I trusted in them. I said, what do you think I should do next? And they said, you should go to Scots. And my God, they weren't wrong.
You weren't even 18 at this point.
I was 18 at Scots.
Yeah. So you're super, super young.
Super young.
And they were like, go.
Yeah.
Why do you think what do you think their reasoning would have been? Because surely your reasoning would be slightly different.
To learn. I mean, the seafood there is like insane. Every time I eat out in a seafood restaurant, I always just think, like, for example, you'd get 12 turbot for 2 in every day, and then I'd order 13, and Dave would be like, why on earth would you order 13? It's 12. When we run out, we run out. Skate wing, he put it to your nose, every day fresh. Everything was fresh. Whelks, the way you cook whelks, the way you cook winkles, mussels, clams, razor clams, all that preparation is a super skill. And, you know, everyone can prep it, but to the level and detail you need to do it at Scots was unbelievable.
Taking you back to being 18.
Yeah.
Sure, an interesting time in your life. But was there any level of arrogance coming out of Caprice? Because obviously it had the establishment of what it was.
Yeah.
It had the reputation. You're going into Scots. Did you go in thinking, I know enough to hold my own? Or
I think that when I left Scots, I was arrogant.
Right. But going into Scots, you were...
No, I was a young kid. But I think that when I was at Scots, they make you believe you are truly the best.
Right.
Which is a great thing, but at the same time, when you come to leave, you're not the best. There are so many other good restaurants out there.
Yeah.
But me personally, when I left Scots, I thought I was the dog's bollocks. But you're really not.
Yeah.
It's just another restaurant.
Yeah. You said once, staying in your lane and being nice to people is one of the most successful parts of running any restaurant.
Yeah.
Did you learn that at Scots?
No.
What was Scots like then?
It was tough. I mean, there are some good people, there are some bad people, as in every job. For me, when you ask that question, it is a tricky one because I learn it from myself. I'm a good person. I've been brought up very well, just to be kind to people. And you know what? Maybe I've not always been kind, but I'd say in recent years, you just get so much more out of people if you just actually look after them. And as I was saying to you earlier, you know, everyone needs to be treated differently. And a lot of people, I've done podcasts before, had said, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But you could be the best chef in the world with 3 Michelin stars, but if you can't manage people, then you're going to be on your own. What's the point?
Yeah.
There's no point. And to do 16 hours a day is not sustainable. It is not good.
Is that what you were doing at Scots? Because it was around that time where that was...
We were doing a lot of hours at the time. And I mean, there is an element of work you need to put in order to perfect something. But at what sacrifice? You know, there are levels where you need to tone it down.
Is it really around the pressure externally? Like, yeah. Question I have for you is, where does the pressure come from for food?
It comes from management.
Not the customer.
No, it comes from management.
Explain that to me.
So I'm under a huge amount of pressure every day.
Yeah.
But the way you deal with that pressure and the way you put that onto your team is where you deliver.
Right.
I get, you know, guests can complain. How do you deal with that guest? Do you listen to what they say? Do you start screaming and shouting saying the guest is wrong? Never. Get a new steak on, get whatever it is and get it right and just do it. And my job as the chef at 45 Park Lane, and not just me, the seniors and all of the chefs, it's to keep the problems away from the team and just keep it high level. And then, you know, you just let the kitchen doesn't need to be hearing shouting and screaming.
Yeah.
You know, there will be shouting and screaming at times, but it'd probably be to make sure someone doesn't burn themselves. That's the only time you ever need to shout.
Yeah.
And that's when you know you've got a team of professionals.
And what was that like at Scots then? Because that perception is obviously what you have now from the sounds of things. But was that what it was like at Scots? Did you learn it there?
Scots, no, to be honest with you, Scots was a well-oiled machine and we all had the same vision. I think Scots was one of the better places I'd worked. There are bad examples. But
tell me about the bad examples.
We can go into that later. But no, Scots, everyone was very professional and they knew what they were doing.
Because you stayed there for 8-9 years, as you said,
yeah.
Which is pretty unheard of in some capacity, like generally, or is that?
I think For me, if looking back, I probably stayed there 2 years too long.
What makes you say that?
Because I got to a level where I feel like those 2 years, if I'd learn, you can always stay somewhere and learn more.
Yeah.
But I think that I'd learn all I'd needed to learn, but I was hanging on to something that was never going to happen, potentially a promotion.
And what level did you get to then? Sorry? What level did you get to?
I got to sous chef.
And so what was the next step?
Senior sous chef, then head chef, but Dave is still there to this day.
Right. So that's a difficult one to...
yeah, and I mean, we love Dave.
Yeah.
So I decided to leave after that.
Was that a tough call for you?
Not at the time, really. I was probably, not at the time. It was time for me to go.
And was that arrogance piece you were talking about before?
Yeah.
Was that fueling that a little bit, that you thought you had
for sure.
opportunity?
I felt like I was better than the place in the end.
Really?
Which you should never think, because you're never better than the place. But, that's all part of growing up and maturing. But yeah, I think leaving and then realizing you're not necessarily the best, and it wasn't the best restaurant. It's good to move and try other things. If you stay in one place forever, that's not, you need to be versatile and you need to see other things. And, some things you do right in some places and then you see better ideas in other places.
Yeah. And that kind of thriving or failing piece, I guess. So like the team that you must have seen over 8 years must, some of them must have gone on to do all sorts of things.
Unbelievable, right? Yeah.
But how do you think people really sort of thrived in that environment? Was there an environment where they could, or was it really just the talent that was going through Scott's?
I think a lot of talent was going through, and there is that. It was all they don't really celebrate the chef, as it were. I don't think it's more about the Scott's. That is it. They don't celebrate the chef.
What do you mean by that? In terms of like the team?
Yeah, it's just a restaurant, that is the food, and that's the way the brand is.
Any particular I guess achievements during your time there that you were super happy with? I guess being there for a long time.
I don't know, it was a good bit of halibut. I mean, just learning my craft, I think, and learning to cook some of the best seafood. I can cook a wicked razor clam.
A wicked razor clam?
A wicked razor clam.
I guess the seafood thing is really going back to the roots of Cornwall as well, right?
Yeah, and a lot of the produce was from there as well.
Really?
I mean, it was funny because I was dreadfully awful at cooking meat. If ever I was on the grill, my God, they used to call me the Cuisine Queen at Scott's. Andy Burton. He goes, "Oh, not you, Elliot, not on the meat." I was dreadful.
Why were you so bad?
I don't know, I just couldn't get it. Just dreadful. Cooking meat is a proper art. If you got it, you got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was amazing at like Dover sole, scallops, all that kind of thing. But like
what is it about fish for you though? What is that connection?
It's just I just did it so often.
Yeah.
I remember like when grouse come on the menu, my God, like bread sauce, liver parfait. I was like, oh, it was just horrendous. Most horrendous games. I hate it. Oh, yeah. I like eating it. But.
And then after you left Scott, you went back to Hicks at this time, right?
Yeah.
Why go back?
Because that was Scott's, and then I went to Hicks Soho.
Yeah. To head chef there, right?
No, it was to be the number 2.
Number 2.
It was Ricardo, and then Mike was there, and then the head chef was like in and out, and then basically he had left, but Kevin was the chef director of the Hicks at that time.
Ah, I see.
So there was that connection.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go with what I knew, but something very different.
Right.
And I just, honestly, the time I was there, I learned so much about British seasonal food. Mark was in the kitchen all the time.
Wow.
Even Mark's the closest to Wolfgang I've met in respect of, he would come in and he'd show you how to make, I can remember now, he came in and showed you how to make crab cakes, but just like the way his hands worked, the small details, he's like a true talent. Mark is unbelievable.
Because for you, obviously, you've been at Scott's for 8 years. It's
a
big portion of a career, right?
Yeah.
Going back to something that was familiar, was that because you didn't want to take a bigger leap and
things
known?
Yeah, for sure.
And go to something where you knew.
I didn't want to go to something that I could potentially be failure. I had to go somewhere where I knew it would be okay, and it was the right decision.
Because you were there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And moved throughout that process, but did grow, which is, I guess, what you were kind of looking for that you didn't have at Scott's.
Yes. So I got to the head chef position there.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did some of the most wicked bar food there. It was really, really good. We did like a ox heart kebab, and we used to do like scallop frills with aioli. It was really good, like really using all the animal.
What in up until this point, how much you kind of learn about like running a team? Because you have such an interesting perception about that now, and running a brigade and what people want and those people skills you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Where were you learning that the most up until this point? Was that Scots? Was that back at Hicks?
No, I
think that
it was always in my blood. I think one of the first click moments was Lee Ball. Now, Lee Ball, as I said, was really tough back in the day.
Yeah.
I met him on my first day in London. He was on the pass at Scott's. Then he took the head chef job, and he was quite harsh at Le Caprice. And then Kevin had left Hicks.
Yeah.
And Lee Ball was the chef director of Hicks. So it's all very moving in and out, right? And the one thing I remember is I said to Lee, I was the head chef. I'd only been head chef for a few weeks.
This is at Hicks.
At Hicks in Soho. And I was on the kitchen office, and I said, Lee, I need the Friday night off. Now, to ask for a Friday night off is a big thing in the industry. And he just threw his iPhone down as he did. He goes, yeah, no worries, I'll work it. And that was a click moment, because for me, it's like he's willing to do that for me. So we'd look after each other. And I think, like, when anyone ever comes up to me in the kitchen and says, can I take a week off, or can I have next Monday off, when it's only a few days before, instead of just instantly saying no, which is like every place I've ever worked. No, you can't have it. We're busy. Oh, shut up. Just try. Because if you try and you look after them, they will do anything for you to a degree. Yeah. They'll work for you when you need them. Whereas if you say no, when you say, oh, how often am I going to need to ask that person to work with someone's called sick? Not all the time, but you might need them, and they're going to say no. So I always have the mentality from Lee, from saying yes. I always go back to that.
Interesting. And how do you, standards is a big thing in kitchen, right?
Yeah.
And we've spoken about it different ways. And you, alongside what you just said, were you also learning how to maintain the standard, right? Because how are you getting that through now in your first head chef position at that time, if I'm right? How do you maintain standards, and how did you learn to do that? Was that in the same vein?
For me, whenever you start in a new kitchen, so I was on the pass. So obviously this is sort of going against what I'm saying, but it was a decision from myself, is I'd literally spent the first 3 months lunch and dinner, not doing crazy hours. I'd be on the pass from sort of 12 until 9 every day, 5 days a week, just making sure that the standard was there, because it takes around 3 months, I believe, to really cement the standards in and then leak that into the team. And I think it takes 3 months.
And is that consistency and picking on every detail? Or is that showing the team you're there to back them as well?
A bit of both. But I think to get the consistency of the product and getting, all the chefs on board to know what your standards are, it takes around 3 months, I think.
The first kind of like weekday, whatever kind of like you want to call it, first period of time of being in the head chef position, do you remember what it felt like?
I felt good. I remember being very proud to be the head chef for Mark Hicks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just very proud. And then that was a sort of a mellowing moment, I think, for me.
In terms of just finding a bit of peace?
Yeah, a bit of peace. I was chasing this for so long.
Yeah.
And, I'm not, I find a lot of young people now, they're constantly asking for promotions. And I always try and give reason to why you need to go through some kind of process and actually learn everything. I mean, I'm still learning every day from chefs from college. They'll come and show me something.
Is that time, or is that kind of intensity that gets you there quicker? Because I agree with you that especially younger generations, we want to own a company, be at the top, but before we've even learn how to drink properly, you know what I mean? So it's always speed. Some people get it early, some people don't.
Yeah.
How does that work out in your world?
I mean, for me, everyone's different.
Yeah.
So I couldn't put it on one thing. Everyone learns differently. That is the answer to that, really.
But is it so for you? Was it the right time and kind of earning?
I think I was wasted an awful amount of time listening to a lot of rubbish in industry. Yeah, and there are so many good chefs out there, but they just do not know how to manage people. Is
that the secret, if you will?
That's the secret. Bad man management. Very bad man management.
Amazing food, but if you can't...
Amazing food, but if you can't run it, if you don't know how to talk to people and treat people with a bit of respect, then you've got a problem.
And I guess a lot of that's now changed, right? Ever since COVID. Changing. So still not, you think the industry standard...
Far from fixed.
Interesting.
You'd have a miracle if I could walk into the kitchen, because I treat people with dignity and respect. And there's a massive issue. And, you know, I'd mentioned on previous podcasts, there are all these people that say, oh, yeah, I look after my staff. Yeah, you don't. It's fact.
What for you are the main priorities when you say looking after your team? Because I think this is transferable across any business, brand, restaurant, whatever. What are the things you really got to care about?
I think just being kind and actually just looking after people like you would in any other job.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were, like, my dad was a plumber. He said the way I used to tell him stories, you know, I remember there was one time in a previous job, I forgot to put the chocolate truffles out. The guy strangled me in the fridge. My dad I will not go into any more detail into that, but I was strangled the next day in the fridge. And I said, you know, I said to my dad, he goes, any other job, you do something about it. It's unbelievable. So that was a few years ago now, but the industry needs to be kinder. Really does.
Because the mass perception is very TV and film orientated, right? Which I know you've got your views on in different ways and different shows, etc.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit more about it, because I get it and I'm super interested in food and kitchens and the whole process. But tell me what you think is wrong with the public, let's say, perception of what it's like to be in a kitchen.
Well, I think the problem that you've got, so whether you're trying to glorify it or not glorify it, because we've had this on previous podcasts, if you film a kitchen dramatized or real in the light that we're seeing all the time, screaming, shouting, effing, blinding, throwing pans, young people watch this and they think that is how they need to behave in order to produce a successful kitchen.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely not correct. You can run a successful kitchen and behave like that, but it's not sustainable. Or, you know, name me one show where it shows you just normal working conditions, no screaming, no shouting, no effing, no blinding. Name one.
I think there's the only ones I think of are definitely at the point in the film where it's all better, if that makes sense. So the only time you see it, one of my favorite films is Chef with Jon Favreau, which is just a great feel-good film. It's kind of stupid and crazy. I just enjoy the film. It's not even that much coding in it. It's more of a narrative. And things like The Bear, things like Burn with Bradley Cooper, all these films that have kind of got their sort of stripes, if you will. The one with Ralph Fiennes I never watched because I just didn't think it would be any, that one where he's like, it's like a horror film, basically. Think of that much time, everyone else. But it's always what you're explaining is what your normal is always at the end of the film when they've got it right, if that makes sense. Yes. But they seem to portray that all this negativity has to happen in order to get to that point. If that's kind of the way I see it.
People watch that and they think that's what you need to do.
But there's a perception of you'll get there in the end. You'll become a happy, smart.
But you shouldn't have to go through the trauma to get there.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you did.
I did, but my chefs won't.
Right. And how do you maintain that? I mean, now we'll get on to now, but how, for someone in your position or others, is it about stamping out the bad apple straight away? Is it about not allowing that even to happen in kitchen? Because I imagine there's a part that must come through naturally, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for me, Dorchester Collection, which I love dearly, honestly, the CEOs, General Manager Lee, all of them, their vision over the last 3 years, I mean, I've been there for coming up to 3 years, is so aligned. And every single person that walks into the hotel, they go through a stringent interview process and they have to be in line with the brand. Right. And like, we've got values of passion, we care. There's so much of it. And if you're not the right fit, you will not get your foot in the door. I mean, we're fully staffed in front and back of house. Like, to get a job there now is tough.
And is it, you don't have to have you can have all the qualifications in the world, the best.
It's not about that.
But if you don't fit what you guys represent.
If you don't fit what we represent as a brand, you will not get in.
And how do you maintain that, though? Let's say some people do come in that you think are going to fit. What's the process for you? Because it's a big thing right now. Culture within businesses is very, very important. Yeah. And trying to stomp out bad apples, but also give people chances, opportunities, is difficult. I'm sure you've been in some situations. Yeah. How do you guys look at it?
I mean, we've had a few, one of my young chefs, he came in, we took a little bit of a chance, and he didn't perform to the level he needed to. And, you know, again, some people need more time than others. And we've given him 8 months and now he's one of the best in the kitchen. So, you know, you have to also believe in what you put your time into, and it isn't always going to work out straight away. But I think if you keep knocking away, I mean, sometimes we do have casualties, but most of the time we don't really get it too wrong.
Just believe in the people, I guess, as well. If you keep on seeing them, the right people come in and it works.
And empower,
empowering
people, giving people more responsibility than they probably should have, but watching them can help as well.
Yeah.
Again, it is like a big puzzle because everyone is different.
Yeah. It's difficult, right?
It's really tough. I mean, we've got over 140 employees in 45 Park Lane.
Wow. Is that the whole team?
That is the whole hotel, 45 bedroom hotel, 1 penthouse, spa, bar, sushi kanasaka, car. It's a big operation.
Yeah, massive. Let's go back a little bit because you ended up at the Ned for a bit.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a different challenge in many capacities, right?
Great challenge.
What made you take that?
So Hicks Soho was going to be closed. That was the rumor.
Right.
And I got hold, Nick Jones and me were in contact, and I was going to go to Millie's Lounge and run Lutchin's Grill, Millie's, and like the library room, afternoon tea and that.
Right. Because you thought the future at Hicks wasn't going to...
Yeah, and, it was unfortunate. I mean, I still to this day love Mark dearly, but yeah, it wasn't, again, I knew that was the time I needed to leave, really. And if it wasn't, I would have stayed, for sure. Right, forgive me for stretching.
No worries. We know you've been on a long walk. But so, the time in Ned, was it a challenge for you?
Horrendous.
Why?
Management.
Can you tell me more?
So I'd gone in, and at this time, they were 1 year in. I'd gone into Millie's Lounge, and I mean, it was a beast. It was a very...
For those that don't know what Millie's Lounge is, just if they haven't...
So Millie's Lounge is, you would do 1,000 covers on a Sunday feast.
1,000?
1,000 covers.
For context, most restaurants
will do 180 maybe.
Flipping.
Then we do breakfast, then we do the feast, then we do dinner. And then on the left side, it was a double pass. You'd have Lutchin's Grill, which is one of the best grill houses in London.
Yeah. Double pass meaning one pass is serving 2 spots.
Yeah, sometimes I'd be doing both. So I'd be calling out American steaks on one side and then English grass-fed on the other side. It was insane. And I remember I'd built this team. I brought loads of people in, and the executive chef there was just so awful on the way he treated people, including myself. And it's like all that hard work I was putting in, he was just constantly knocking it down.
In why though? To get...
Because he just thought that was the way he had to be, just aggressive, very old school.
Yeah.
Not my style. And I mean, he's still there and I'm here, so...
And it was multiple locations, is that right? That you were working across?
It was... So within Ned, it was Millie's Lounge, Lutchin's Grill, the library room, and... Yeah, that was pretty much it. But it was a few of the outlets.
And were you there thinking, I need to stick it out? Because that's another thing.
I needed to get a year done.
Why?
Because I just needed to. It was just like I needed to get that year done. And I remember thinking to myself, because I had to get out, so I was fishing around. And at the time, it was just before COVID, Duck and Waffle, no disrespect to it, love it dearly, was a step back in respect of the food quality.
From the Ned,
yeah, and from previous jobs.
Yeah.
But it was high volume. It was a very popular place. So I applied to go there, and I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, as I was going on 2 weeks holiday, I remember, Jesus Christ, I've got to do this trial. I did 11 dishes for the CEO of Duck and Waffle, and I thought, if I don't get this job, I've got to go back to that hellhole.
Do you really hated that much?
Oh, it was awful. It was so bad at the end.
What about the rest of the team there? Was it a good team? No.
That was a great team. It was a lovely team, what was left of it. It was just like, they were just churning them out in there. I don't know what it's like now. I'm sure it's not much different, but it was tough. It was very tough.
So you were very much like, I need to get out.
Yes, absolutely.
And for you mentally, I guess, I think about where you were at. You've done a pretty long career so far.
I mean, I remember
12 years.
I was talking to my girlfriend yesterday, right? We was at Bank Station.
Yeah.
We did a long walk, 8.3 miles.
You like a walk, don't you?
I love a walk, yeah. Chris Baber dragged me down here today. So I remember on December 1st, they do this thing called the Carols menu. And
The Ned do.
The Ned. And I remember being on the Northern Line, sweating, crying at 7 a.m, but I just didn't want to go. And that is the only time that I'd ever been pushed to the limit. And that is not what you want.
Damn.
I hope they fixed it now.
But for you, was there also like, I'm not 18 anymore. I'm not just come up from Cornwall. I'm 10 years into your...
I never think like that. I don't really think like that. I just wanted to do the best. And it was just so upsetting because people were just leaving non-stop. I'd have 2 days off and then another 2 chefs would be gone. And there was just no empathy whatsoever.
Yeah. So going to the Duck and Waffle was a slight...
Oh, yeah.
Sunshine. Yeah. And was that just as COVID was hitting?
A year before.
Year before.
Fine.
And so the Duck and Waffle gig, you do a little trial in terms of setting up the dishes for the CEO.
Yeah, like CEO owner was on camera.
Right. Nice.
I'll tell you a funny story about that in a minute as well. Yeah. So did the dishes, did a lot of British dishes and got the job.
And this is for head chef?
Executive chef.
Wow.
First exec chef job, yeah.
Amazing. So what's the story? What's the funny story?
So a year in, so Lee Ball,
he worked on Waffle a year in.
Yeah, a year in.
Yeah.
Just as we started doing takeaway was Sushi Samba and Duck and Waffle in Covent Garden.
Mm-hmm.
The executive chef left of Sushi Samba for some reasons. And Lee Ball,
yeah,
the guy from the Caprice,
yeah,
and then the guy from Scott's and Hicks,
he
was working at Soho House in the what's it called, the big one in Oxford.
Oh,
Farmhouse.
Yes, Farmhouse. Yeah.
He said, right, I need to leave. So I was like, right, fine. And I got him a trial during COVID for the chef exec chef on Sushi Samba,
right?
Same company, and he had to do a cook-off via Zoom with the owner.
Same thing you had done.
Yeah, and we had no food in the kitchen, and the guy goes, I want you to get some ingredients from the fridge. And the guy, Lee, was like, I ain't got no fucking ingredients. There's just flour. And the guy goes, cook something like this, just over. Like, what are you talking about? The guy was crazy. But
really,
I love working with Lee. Like, that was such a... It was
you get the job.
He got the job. Yeah.
And so those two restaurants are under the same group.
Yeah.
It
was Orange Brands Management, but it's gone... I think they sold it now.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was like the sort of COVID period for you? What was that?
Takeaway. 10 grand a day takeaway. Brilliant.
10 grand a day,
yeah,
or in sales?
In sales, for takeaway, Sushi Samba, Duck and Waffle. I mean, Christmas Day we were doing turkey and Duck and Waffle.
A whole lot. For you, the timing of kind of coming off the back of the Ned, having that type of experience, going into that bit of COVID rest time, was that, as much as COVID was horrible, well timed in terms of, did it feel like a kind of rest period in any way, or was COVID taking over?
No, it was tough because everyone was off and I was working really hard. And I was on 50% of the wage I was on. Yeah. I'd have been better off on furlough, but I'm happy I carried on working.
Yeah.
I learned a lot there.
And were you there long enough for it to open back up?
Yeah, and I did about another 9 months.
Oh, wow. So yeah, for quite a period of time.
Yeah.
Damn. And then you have an opportunity, or you find an opportunity to get to where you currently are.
Well, originally I did a trial at Annabelle's.
Right.
For the exec chef of the Garden Room.
Mm-hmm.
And I used that job offer to then go back to Duck and Waffle and say, give me more money.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked. And then after that, 3 months later, the owner was like, nah, that's it now. Because I swindled him a little bit, but...
Fair enough. So then you started you interviewed for Wolfgang.
Yeah.
After this period.
Yeah.
So that process you've mentioned about a few times, but just trying to get that gig, or the gig you currently have today, wasn't simple.
No, it wasn't simple. I mean, as I said, like the Dorchester Collection, they've got a stringent interview process, which we know and love. And I think it was around 9 times. And then, oh my God, I got the job, which was unbelievable. And then straight to LA.
When you say nine rounds of actual interviews?
Yeah.
And what was that, everything from?
So meeting the general manager and then meeting the chefs from the Dorchester, meeting the teams and then cooking with cooking was obviously the hardest part with the food and beverage director of the Dorchester, the head chef, the executive chef.
Wow.
Then calls with the American chefs, exec pastry chef, Wolfgang
and is that everyone to basically vet that you're going to be the right well, not the right person in terms of skill level, but also culturally the right fit? Well, that's pretty intense process.
I remember the one thing that they'd said when it was John Scallon, who was the GM of 45 at the time. I remember I was cooking and then they were all watching me and I found it strange. I said, what are you looking at? And they said, it's the fact that you've got all the chefs in the Dorchester working with you while I'm doing a cook-off. Because that's what I do. I like bring people in, get them involved.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of the big things they said, which was a big tick. Yeah.
Do you remember getting the job? Do you remember them saying yes?
Yeah, winning the lottery.
Really?
Yeah, best job ever.
Was there any other backup plans or options for you at that time?
No, was it really? When I do something, I focus on one thing and I do it very well. I mean, I'm not saying it's always gone the right way, but I was fortunate and yeah, I mean, just what a job.
Yeah. And so you flew out to LA as soon as you got it?
Yeah.
To do what?
I had to do breakfast in Bel Air Hotel.
Right.
So that's the neighborhood. And then Wolfgang lives in that neighborhood, very fortunately. And then, so I did that. And then I was like cooking Havas Rancheros, all these Mexican dishes. And then where did I go? I went to Spargo. And I mean, I've said this story before, but he rocked up in a stretch Hummer. Literally rocked up, comes out, does a bit of service, and then drove me around, showed me where a few people lived. He's a really nice man, very nice man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people want to know, what is he like for you as a daily basis?
He's good. He's great. He's constantly asking me about the beef. And
the beef,
because obviously Cut is predominantly a steak restaurant.
Yeah.
He wants to know about everything. He wants you to cut into the beef, send him pictures. He's amazing. I mean, when he came last time, he will go up to a new member of staff and he'll say, where are you from? They'll say, Italy. He'll say, cook me what you'd cook for your mum. And then he'd take the chef upstairs into the restaurant at 10 o'clock at night and he'd eat the food with them. I mean, wow, that is, and people are like, what on earth? But that's what he's like.
And that's like that's actually caring. Right?
Yeah.
That's like another level. When you say, people say they look after their staff, he does what you're doing.
He's fantastic.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from being in that group and working with him?
My God. I mean, he is like an A-list celebrity chef. He's amazing. I don't know, for me, he's still so hands-on, right, and without any shadow of a doubt, the best cook.
How hands-on?
Like doing servers, cooking steaks. Yeah, he's fantastic. And his connections. He taught me that, you don't need to associate yourselves with chefs. You need to associate yourself with brands. And that's where he was very successful, I think.
Right. Because you've done a little bit of that with Hackett and Aston Martin and that sort of thing. Is that where that influence comes from?
Yeah, I think a lot of that came through that. And, did a bit with Chris as well with Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wolfgang's connected with F1. So I go to Silverstone. I mean, he's very good at all that. The
stuff outside the kitchen is a big part of the brand, right? In terms of like doing those aspects. How different is that for you working amongst the team? And how much, I guess for the team, that must be a nice adjustment. I know it's a slightly different company, but it's all kind of connected in that vein. But being able to get out and do, we'll come on to the Oscar stuff in a second, but do the Formula One, do the catering stuff. I know you just did a charity thing this weekend. Yeah. Like doing that stuff. How important is that just for not being in the same restaurant every day?
I mean, it's funny you say that. So the Great Ormond Street event we did on Saturday, I took two of the chefs to that and they said it's just unbelievable just to go into someone's home, cook for them and see their reaction. So, go into all these different events. I mean, the Hackett store we go into, Savile Row.
Yeah.
I sort of try and change the chef each time I go so they can experience it. And I mean, again, it retains staff because you're giving them something more and they're learning from it as well.
When you first walked into kind of 45 and Cup in terms of the new opportunity you had in the new job, was there something you wanted to try and change, put your name on? Was the pressure from yourself to do that? Or did you kind of want to just see what was there and think about how you could continue what they were doing?
I just wanted to make sure that I represented the Wolfgang Puck brand in the right way first.
Right.
And earn that trust.
And what is that brand in terms of the way you see it?
Good produce and don't fuck it up. That's his motto.
Really?
Simple. That is Wolfgang's words.
Yeah.
Good produce, don't fuck it up. So, for example, mashed potato, pretzel bread, fresh every service, steaks, like no oxidization, everything's got to just be on point. All the sauces followed to a T. When he comes in, he'll go in, he'll see the texture of the ice cream, the mashed potato, the cream spinach, and he'll just taste everything. And if Cut London's pretty good normally. So normally. They're watching you. Yeah, no, they're normally pretty good. So
yeah,
it's very consistent.
So after you had that brand unlock, what did you want to do with the rock? Like, I guess it's like, you
again, bring a bit of Scots into it. So what I'd learned at Scots, we did the tiger prawns with chili jam and mango chutney.
Yeah.
These kind of dishes which fit well as well with cut. Just a bit of seafood, more seasonality. I mean, Jamie, the chap before me, Jamie Shears, unbelievable chef. He already had quite a nice menu going on. I brought some snacks onto the menu, a bit more pasta, all that kind of thing. So just a bit more rounded menu.
Understood. So going back to the events bit, the Oscars stuff,
yeah,
which is really well documented. You've done 2 Oscars?
2 Oscars.
Just give me a bit of an idea of what that experience was actually like.
Hard, really difficult. I mean, you've got many of the executive chefs worldwide go there.
From the Wolfgang.
Yeah, so they had the one from Budapest, they had the one from Singapore, and Wolfgang likes me a lot, so he puts me right on the centre stage with the British flag, serving fish and chips, roast beef.
So what is the setup? Sorry, just for those that don't know.
So basically,
you're catering the whole event.
It's not me personally.
No, but
the whole event.
The team.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's called the Governor's
Just on your lap, one stove, let's see what happens. Yeah.
So you know where Will Smith got slapped Kevin Hart?
Yeah.
Is it Kevin Hart?
No, it's Chris Rock.
Chris Rock, apologies. So where that happened is where the ceremony takes place.
Right.
So when you win an Oscar and you get given the Oscar, you personally, it's never engraved. It's a fully blank Oscar.
Yeah.
So all the celebrities need to go up the stairs to the Governor's Ball, and they get their Oscar engraved.
Yeah.
And then when they come off the stage, I'm there with my little trolley. Fish and chips, darling. Yeah. And that's me.
But the Zena dinner that you're catering.
It's like a canapé event, but it's packed, man.
Because how many chefs are in the kitchen for that?
400, 300, 400. Yeah.
How many people go to the Oscars?
I think it's a few thousand. Is
it
busy? It is busy.
I guess on like the TV perception, you only see probably like a
oh no, there's a whole bit behind it. It's huge.
And being asked to go alone must have been huge.
I asked him. I said, "Can I come?" And he said, "Yes." So,
wow.
Yeah.
And that operation is run by him.
Wolfgang Puck Catering.
Got you. But he's really involved in that process.
Yeah, I mean, he's there the whole time.
And it must be. Is it a different level of pressure to what is normal, or is it a different environment?
To be honest with you, by the time the night comes, there is no real pressure.
Right.
Because
it's prepped so much.
It's prepped. It's done. I mean, obviously, we don't want to mess it up, but it's so many chefs and so much talent.
Yeah.
You can't really mess it up.
When you say talent in terms of, let's say there's 400 chefs, is it the best 400 chefs, effectively?
Not necessarily the best 400 chefs, but probably the top 20 leaders in the company are there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
And sure, hopefully there's an aim to do more in the future if it's an opportunity to do so.
Fingers crossed. Let's keep our fingers crossed for next year, yeah.
Looking back at like what is a long career now for you, and so many things we've just spoken about, starting at Le Caprice to now doing the Oscars, it's quite a journey that you've obviously been on. What does it really sort of taken from you to get there and keep on moving forward with that?
Hard work, learn a lot, be kind. And I keep saying be kind, but you'll laugh, but it's true.
And what for you, you must have interviewed, hired, seen a lot of younger talent come through. What do you think they get wrong?
Do you know what? I don't think they're getting a lot wrong, actually. I think it's us that are getting a lot wrong. I think it's the people that are nurturing and they've got hands of that talent is what we do with it.
Right. So it's not actually, how would they know what's right or wrong is what you're saying?
No, it's the people that are, again, it's all about man management. It's about, you could have the best football team, but if you ain't got the right coach, you're not going to win nothing.
Yeah.
It's all about, how can you, so if you've got an 18-year-old that's just come out of Westminster Kingsway, their attitude might not be 100% right. Yeah. It's how you nurture that talent and get the best out of it. And again, every single person's different.
Is there something that you would, let's say you were 18 again, would you have done anything differently?
I'd have treated myself differently in certain situations, yeah.
The way you looked at yourself when you were...
Yeah, I think I've been treated wrong many times through my career. And I think, it all comes down to the manager.
Not you necessarily when you're working.
No, because, you can have raw talent or you can have no talent. I mean, it's not the hardest job in the world, that's for sure. Let's be honest. Do
you think it's a bit overinflated?
Yes, absolutely.
In what capacity, though?
Every capacity.
What, the industry, food, restaurants,
just food.
Michelin,
just
the
food.
whole lot?
Just food. We are just cooking food.
But how has that happened?
Like, and I'm going to get slammed for that. It's just food. No, it really is. Come on, it's just food.
Yeah.
But how many people can cook pasta?
Everyone. But so where do you think? I guess it's a fine balance, and I love your perception on it because it's so different. But also, I can see when you really stop and think about it, you do just go,
No, but people will say, this and that. But I do run successful restaurants, and we have a 1 Michelin star sushi Ganasaka, a very successful steak restaurant and hotel. So
No, I mean the creds are there. Like,
I'm only trying to give creditation to myself because previous podcasts I had been criticised
for saying that it's just food.
Yeah, but it is true. It is. It really isn't. There are about 1 million chefs in the world, and it's not really that. It's a great job, and you can do wonderful things, and I love my job, but it's not rocket science.
But is it? Do you think it's a full circle of just sort of like internal arrogance?
Yeah,
whatever. What is that? Like,
everyone is just like looking at each other. I don't even look at chefs anymore. I just look at my life and look at the restaurant and try and be true to myself. It's just this circle of just.
But does that get you better though? Like, because
no,
I'm trying to understand.
Never focus on anyone else. Just focus on yourself. Set your own goals and your own targets, and you'll always be happy, as long as you hit the goals.
And what happens if you don't?
Carry on, crack on,
keep going. So, what are your goals? What's the future for you? Where do you want to get? So are you pretty happy with where?
No, I'm never happy. I'll never be fully happy. I mean, I'm so blessed and honoured to be where I am now.
Yeah,
love the team. Like Dorchester Collection, amazing. Love my team dearly. Next year is going to be a really, really fun year for us, for sure.
What can you tell me why?
Don't know why yet. I just have to think of. We got an amazing pop-up next year. Unbelievable. It's going to be one of London's best pop-ups.
In the restaurant or somewhere else?
It's going to be in 45 Park Lane. Don't know what that looks like yet. I haven't decided, but it will be one of the best.
Amazing. Well, look, Elliot, thanks so much. It's been amazing to find out about the journey. And for only a couple of years in, really, aren't you?
You need to come to the restaurant now.
100%. We'll be for sure. But thanks so much. And whatever that pop-up looks like, I'm definitely going to be there. But I appreciate the time and congrats on everything as well, because I'm sure the days where you're like, oh, this is just normal. It's not normal. Like, you've done some amazing stuff, and it's been a pleasure to hear the story of what it's been like. But I'm definitely see you soon, probably in the restaurant where you're in your chef.
Perfect. Pleasure, mate.
Pleasure. Thanks so much. Cheers.